there. So I'd like to say a couple of words about where I'm at with sharing the seed meditations with anyone who is suffering from addiction. And I've been using Lynette's meditations for about 2 years and have found I've really developed my relationship with my higher power, or with God, whatever you want to call it, source, creative energy, really through Lynette. Her voice takes me to a place where I can connect well with my higher power. And the audios now that she's provided are such a great service for me. They're such a great vehicle for me to actually to work on my recovery, to get the job done. I have blockages and I need to get rid of them. And so how do I do that? I really specifically do her meditations in order to have an experience of the clearing of these blockages in myself that are preventing me from being the best version of myself. So I also wanted to talk a little bit more about Step 11 in a 12-step program requires, one of the requirements is to meditate. And for many of us coming into the program, we have no experience with that. Maybe some people do, and that's terrific, but there are plenty of us who have no clue where to start with something like that yet. All 12-step programs are spiritual programs with an action plan. Spiritual programs, we have to meditate. It's a requirement of the program. And in our big book, it tells us that, we can look for suggestions from other people who've been doing this. And my suggestion, based on my experience, is that, basically, for me, I have been able to connect with a power greater than myself, just like the pioneers say in the big book. And that is a key to recovery. It has been for me, and I'm certainly not the only one. There are hundreds, thousands, millions of people who have recovered with a spiritual program, with an action plan, this 12-step program. But we need a tool. If we don't have one, and there are plenty of us who don't, the seed meditations are fantastic. They're quick and they're easy. Lynette's voice takes us to a place where we can have an experience, get out of the brain and into the heart, because the brain hasn't been serving us so well. We've been confused about a lot of things. And so the seed meditations are super effective, and I highly recommend them as a suggestion as to how to accomplish Step 11 in any 12-step program. So what is a spiritual experience? Many people coming into 12-step programs, or, if they're lucky enough to even get into one, they're willing to do the work, but they don't even know what it's supposed to feel like. What does it look like to have a spiritual experience? And we're lucky enough that Lynette, having crossed over to the other side, she knows what that looks like, and she tells us how it feels. It's not somebody else having something over there and that was their experience. It's our experience, and she gives us some clues what to look for in ourselves, how that feels, the tingling in our body. And when I've done these meditations, brought Lynette's meditations and played them in rehab centers, afterwards people raise their hands. It's like a miracle. And they raise their hands and they're like, yeah, I had that feeling. I had that experience of the tingling. I felt it. And, there's so much hope, once that happens, because we really come to rely on that spiritual connection rather than learned and conditioned behaviors that have told us, every man for himself, get everything you possibly can. So The reason that I am making a big effort to bring the seed meditations to 12-step groups, rehab centers, and prisons is because, number one, I got the gift and it was awesome for me, and it helps me in my recovery. So who might find seed audios, seed meditations helpful? Well, everyone, but let's say everything seems fine in life. For those of us who didn't find life fine and we're not doing okay, and let's say we've landed up in a 12-step program for any addiction, or we've ended up in a rehab center, or we've ended up in prison, things are, we could probably use some help. And that's why I'm going to the rehab centers and to the prisons, because it could be a little more clear to that population that they need help and they want help, but it's not being offered, or whatever they've tried isn't working. So that's one reason that we might want spiritual help, or to have a spiritual connection. And that's why I'm starting there. But at the same time, it could benefit anyone who has any difficulty in any area of life, any blockages to, becoming the best versions of themselves, to be true to themselves, to love unconditionally. These are the populations of people who will benefit from seed meditations.